Video coverage of the 27th JCT Traffic Signal Symposium is brought to you by Highways News, thanks to our sponsors AGD Intelligent Traffic Systems, Clearview Intelligence, PTV Group, Message Maker Displays, Smart Video and Sensing, SRL and TRL.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Margaret, for that introduction. We split this presentation up partly because me and Pete are quite similar and we might get mixed up, so just if anybody does get mixed up, Pete's the one in glasses and I'm the one who needs them. So I'm Sean Higgins. I'm the Intelligent Transport Systems Manager at Hull City Council. I've been in the business in the industry for nearly 20 years. I've been coming to JCT since I got involved with local government a few years ago. I've listened to quite a few diverse papers and taken away quite a lot of ideas, and it's been really interesting. And I do appreciate a lot of the stuff that I got out of this. So it's nice to be invited by Clearview to participate in a paper on some works that was being done and implemented by our major projects team in Hull. So that's what we've been doing today. Pete's promised to look after me, so all the hard questions, he'll field them at the end. So, Stoneferry Corridor in Hull. It was a multi-million-pound investment scheme identified by Hull City Council and our major projects. It was delivered by Colas and their subcontractors, of which Clearview delivered some of the technology in that scheme. It's a primary route connecting the north of the city quite centrally to key strategic routes and destinations such as the docks, city centre and suburbs east of the River Hull. Although it's an area heavily dominated by industry, there is lots of different diverse mixed use around there, including light industry units, schools and residential. So when it comes to the challenges delivering the scheme, obviously it was quite diverse, and there was a broad scheme of different solutions that was required. Problems were presented to the technology companies, who in turn submitted their solutions, and a wide range of problems were identified, such as low bridges, cycle safety infrastructure, VMS solutions, and the need for journey time solutions on the corridor. Some of the aims the scheme wanted to achieve were to reduce the congestion by 50%, reduce obviously collisions by at least 40%, and improve air quality. Looking closer at the project aims, you can see there was a wide range of benefits to be had, such as sustain economical growth in the area, encouragement of active travel, and reduce the average journey times. I feel like I'm rushing through this, but... So for the technology, and Peter's going to go into this in much deeper detail, we're going to concentrate and expand on why, in which we have deployed technological solutions to improve safety, obviously, and meet the objectives laid out by the original scheme. So with that in mind, I'll hand over to Pete from Clearview Technology.
Thank you, Sean. You can see why we're difficult to tell apart. I'm the one with glasses, so separated at birth. I think we were twins originally. Good morning. As Sean said, I'm Pete Cattell from Clearview, and we've been really happy to work with Hull on these schemes. I work I'm the head of urban and rural, so basically it means anything that's not the strategic road network, so not the national highway stuff. Effectively, I'm responsible for it at Clearview Intelligence. The schemes that Sean mentioned basically fell into kind of three key challenges. The first one was around protecting vulnerable cyclists. Now, we know there's a big push to try and encourage active travel, but generally, cyclists tell us, and I think it's fairly well known, that if you can't make it safe for them, then they won't do it. Segregated cycleways and stuff are great, but if the cyclist still feels vulnerable, still feels at risk, then they won't do it. So the only way to encourage active travel in these situations is to make sure that the cyclists remain as safe as they can. So the key thing for us here was to actually look at where there's a conflict. And in the latest highway code, you'll probably recognise that effectively there's this new thing with cyclists that if they're going straight on and a vehicle is changing direction near them, effectively the cyclist gets priority. So this scheme really kind of fitted into that agenda. Second element was about low bridges. There's a low bridge on Stoneferry Road, and it gets hit boringly regularly, 6 or so times a year. And you'll all be aware, no doubt, of the difficulties that ends up ensuing. You've got to remove the vehicle, you've got to inspect the bridge, it causes congestion, it causes all sorts of problems. So there was a real issue there for us to try and resolve that. And it kind of sounds easy, you know, how hard can it be to put up a couple of height restrictions and warn drivers that they're getting close to the bridge? The real challenge on Stoneferry Road is that once they're on Stoneferry Road, it's too late because there is limited places where an HGV could turn round. So it was key to intercept them before they actually got onto that stretch of road. So that involved a lot more complex planning and understanding how the network worked. And the final element was about trying to improve air quality by reducing congestion. I think Hull will admit that they had limited, if any, knowledge in real time of what was going on their network. They had a few sensors kicking around. They had a couple of VMS, which were probably past their sell-by date. So they were blind to what was actually happening on the network. So there was a key thing here to understand what's happening with the traffic on the network, recognising where the congestion hotspots are, and actually giving drivers better information so they could make evasive actions, so they could avoid those difficulties. And the scheme effectively falls down into five separate areas. I talked about the first one being the detection of cyclists. So by detecting the cyclists, we can then activate our intelligent road studs to warn the drivers that are nearby that there is a cyclist nearby. So it's really important that we could detect the cyclist very accurately and didn't detect carrier bags and pedestrians and various other things. So we have to detect that cyclist very accurately. And when we detect a cyclist, we then illuminate our we call them IRS2, our intelligent road studs, in the road to warn drivers that there's a cyclist around that junction. Because we're accurately counting and classifying these things moving along this footpath, so pedestrians and cyclists, we're also storing that information, so that will enable Hull, over the fullness of time, to see whether this route is being used more and more for active travel. So that's a key kind of metric for this whole solution, is it being used more widely for active travel? I talked about the low bridge and detecting people, so we put up some overheight vehicle detection systems, and basically we need to do that before the vehicles get to Stoneferry Road, otherwise it's too late. Providing journey time information, flexible journey time information, so it can be deployed anywhere on the network. So Sean and his team can actually set up which routes they want to monitor and actually get a very clear understanding of what's going on. So that's useful because they can then report that back, year on year, week on week or whatever. But critically, they can also inform drivers in real time by VMS deployed at strategic points on the network where a driver has a decision, which direction should I take. By providing them that real-time information, they can now choose the right route. So this is a picture of Stoneferry Corridor, and you'll see there effectively those 5 locations, and those 5 locations are where there's a risk of impact between cars and cyclists. Some of them are entrances to businesses, and some of them are side roads. And the key thing what we're doing there is detecting the cyclists before they arrive at that junction, and then illuminating these road studs to warn the driver, but also to tell the cyclist, because these are clearly visible to the cyclist. The cyclist has confidence that warning has happened, so they can confidently go across that junction and know that there's this active warning in place. To be a bit boring, a bit geeky, we use a couple of different technologies. We have a product we call Connex Active, which uses LiDAR to count and classify pedestrians and cyclists, and that's very accurate. We can count with something like 98% accuracy and classify between a pedestrian and a cycle around about 95% accurate. So it's a very, very accurate way of detecting a cycle. And we've got two different technologies there because we wanted, it's kind of belt and braces really. And we're also feeding that information back to our back-end platform, we call it Insight, so we can look at how many times this system has been activated. And it also provides the data for Sean to know what's gone on that route and how many cyclists have been along the route and how many pedestrians and so on. And as it says there, it triggers these illuminated road studs. And I'll show you a video of the scheme in action in a moment, and that I think will help you to understand what the scheme is about. VMS, journey times, nothing particularly new there, I guess. The key thing is here, the journey time solution is using our crowdsourced journey time platform. So at the side of the road, there is no technology whatsoever to detect vehicles on the road. We use basically commercially available data to understand what's happening on the network and provide that in real time back to the guys at Hull, and also then via VMS like that, so it can inform drivers as they're approaching a decision point which route they should take. Going back to Alistair's point there, something that occurred to me, actually it's a very low carbon solution as well, because we're not putting ANPR cameras or Bluetooth sensors and poles and all of that kind of detection technology at the side of the road. It's actually a very carbon efficient way of detecting traffic information. So that's using our Insight platform that uses this crowdsourced data to understand what's happening on the network. And the final one is the overheight vehicle detection. 2011, Network Rail did a survey of drivers that were involved in collisions with overheight, impacting bridges and so on. And something like 50% of the respondents said that they didn't know how high their vehicle was, and that's why they hit the bridge. A big percentage of the remainder hadn't planned their journey, so they didn't know there was a low bridge on the route. And the rest of them basically didn't understand the signs, so they just crashed into the bridge. I think our solution here effectively fixes two of those. The driver doesn't need to know how high his vehicle is, because if he's too high, we will tell him about it. And I think you can see there, the sign is pretty clear. The challenge there is because we're detecting them before they get onto Stoneferry Road, we have to give them a route to follow. And you can see in this instance, it's to follow the yellow square. We have like yellow triangles and yellow circles and all that sort of stuff, so they can find their way. I think part of the reason this solution, this whole scheme has been so successful is because of the level of collaboration between us and the guys at Hull. When we started off, the solution would not have looked anything like it looks now. We were working on a whole range of different scenarios, understanding where the challenges were, where the pains were for Hull, and we were offering various different technical solutions. I think the benefit is we were involved very early on, so we helped them to understand what's deliverable, what's cost effective, what technically is feasible, what isn't. So it was a very iterative process, so there was a constant to and fro with how about this, how about that. But between us, we've ended up at, I think, a really solid solution. And critically, it was very time efficient and very cost effective. I promised a short video clip. This is a clip from a much larger video. So this is Stoneferry Corridor, and there's the bridge with all the scratches and bangs and dents in it. And you'll see here a cyclist coming along the footpath, and you'll see our studs there flashing in the road. One of the challenges there is you can see that this is one of the side turnings. You can see the road markings, and they've got a tabletop effectively. So the cyclists coming along go straight across that tabletop, but potentially are impacting with these large vehicles. So this is a cyclist view as you're approaching there. Our road studs are flashing, warning drivers that are going either direction on the main road, but also visible from the side road. And you'll see now, this is probably a better view. This is a cyclist's eye view. As he's approaching the junction, we've detected him, we're flashing the studs, and if you look to the right, you'll see in fact there's the other studs. That's for the drivers emerging out of the junction. Here's a cyclist going along Stoneferry Road, and you'll see me actually curb crawling in a minute. So this is me following him with GoPro stuck to my bonnet. So you'll see as he's driving along, as he's cycling along there, we detect the fact that he's there, and we flash the studs to warn the drivers, and also give the cyclist confidence that he's been detected and that warning is activated. One more section here, just approaching the bridge, you can see there the studs flashing on both sides of the cyclist, and he's able to go on his way, making him feel a lot safer and actually providing real good solution. So, conclusion. the aim of this whole scheme, was to reduce collisions, make it safer for cyclists and vulnerable road users, hopefully improve air quality, reduce congestion, so using the journey time, using the cyclist protection scheme. The cyclist awareness and protection system is all about alerting drivers to the presence of a cyclist and informing the cyclist that he's been detecting and that warning is happening. The journey time and the VMS are all about via our Insight platform, providing real-time information to drivers so they can decide the best route to take. And then finally, using this dynamic messaging to warn drivers of overheight vehicles before they get onto Stoneferry Road that they are overheight so that they can pick an alternative route. So, a quick one from me this time. Managed to keep the orange light on rather than the red light. That's unusual for me. We're over on the stand. If you have any questions, please do come and have a talk to us. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Margaret.
Yes, thanks very much indeed. I found that presentation, well, the two of you, it was fascinating and
Good.
Quite a lot of things that were music to my ears. Thanks very much indeed for that. Any questions? One there, one here. Take that one first. And then the third.
Hello, Chris Small from Transport for Greater Manchester. I had a couple. The first was the 50% congestion. What is that? What are you measuring for reducing congestion 50%? And then secondly, for the second part of the presentation, why was the decision made to put bikes on the pavement and not segregate them from pedestrians? Because that doesn't seem very pedestrian friendly. The way, like you were flying past a bus stop with people waiting there. So just what the logic was behind that, basically.
I don't know whether you can answer that, Sean. It's your road.
I think there was a lot of challenges, for your second point, there was a lot of challenges with the shared space and the available space on the highway. And I think the scheme was severely underestimated from the start. So when it came to providing solutions, there was some compromise in the shared space areas. Yeah, it doesn't look great with him driving past or riding past a bus stop, should I say, but that's the constraints in which we had to work in, and obviously it comes back in where the railway bridge is anyway, so we couldn't widen it because we had to come back in at some point. So I think that answers that one. The congestion and how we evaluate that and review that is it's a tough one really, because we are a heavily congested city as it is. We're quite unique in that we're on an estuary that's divided by a river, that's got 17 working lifting bridges, and we're currently undergoing a £500 million national highway scheme that runs through the heart of the city. So to be able for us to review congestion and then how it's going to be improved in the future would be pretty difficult at this moment in time. I guess it's a bit of a finger in the air situation where if you know what the network is like at the minute, and you can be able to tell whether it's going to be better in the future. Obviously, the 50% is probably a guesstimate from somebody somewhere, but I couldn't answer that accurately, I'm afraid.
I think one thing I could chip in with, one of the things that we think is quite beneficial is the journey time platform, because it doesn't require any infrastructure, was running before the changes were made on Stoneferry Corridor, which was, some time back. It's going to be a little while before we can do a like-for-like comparison between what was going on before and what's going on after. But there is a good, strong indication that once we've got that data, we actually will be able to show that there's been a significant improvement. But it's too early to tell you that. But maybe we can present on that next time.
Darren.
Hi, Darren Capes.
Hi, Darren.
I think today I'm representing the TTF. Can I firstly say it's great to see good stuff happening in Hull, my home city. Fantastic. It's great to hear someone with an accent like mine speaking. So again, great for that. So, not the only one. So Peter, just a quick one. You've obviously got technology there which effectively detects cycles and detects overheight vehicles as well.
Yeah.
Have you given thought in the architecture behind this to how you would provide that as a V2X feed? How ultimately you would be able to put that warning into connected vehicles as and when they start to appear?
Yeah, we are. It's a difficult situation because sometimes there's kind of competitive information that I may not want to divulge at this point. But there is some of our R&D guys are currently working on V2X stuff about particularly around kind of safety type solutions and being able to provide alerts to drivers in the area. So it is something we're looking at. And part of the reason I mentioned we've got two different technologies on the scheme there, what we call a Connex Active and our old, effectively the old, what we would call a 680. Part of the reason for having the Connex in there is that's a very modern platform that we can build additional communication interfaces onto. So we're hoping at some point to maybe, port that onto some sort of V2X platform. So we've got the right basis there that we can build on in the future.
Great, thank you. I think it's probably worth a chat offline.
Cool.
Hello, Murat Osturk from Transport for London. I've really liked your flashing studs idea for the cyclist and the conflict, but how did you communicate that across to the drivers and the cyclists, so what it means when it's flashing?
To be confirmed.
Yeah, I think my view, and perhaps you'd say he would say that, wouldn't he? We've been doing intelligent road studs for a long time. You mentioned in the introduction we've done a big scheme at Switch Island, which is all about delineation. And my personal perspective is, you see it, you understand it. You don't need to put signs up to explain what's happening. Even if you don't understand what it is, you know that there's something that you need to be aware of. So as you're driving along, and if you're going to turn left across the cyclist path, and these things start flashing, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, we'll find out, but I think the driver will immediately know there is something he needs to be aware of, and he will look around to see, why is this suddenly flashing at me? As I say, we've used our road studs in lots of different situations, and we've never really felt the need to have to put up kind of signs to explain what we're doing. We did a scheme in Chetwynd in Shropshire some years ago where basically if somebody approached a junction too quickly, we increased the brightness of the studs on the outside of the bend. Again, there was no signs to explain it, but as a driver's approaching this junction too quickly and the studs get brighter, they can see it and they just react to it. So as Sean said, the jury is out, but I'm fairly confident that it's an intuitive thing they should just understand.
To add to that as well, with the local authority are looking at repackaging the video with information to then put out on our social medias and to the public. It's been a bit of a godsend that it's been installed in the summer because it's not been that visible. But obviously in the winter months we got a long hours of darkness. People might start asking questions, so hopefully we'll have that out by the autumn to the public.
Okay, thank you. Could you make the question short and
I'll play it off, BTC. Thank you, Sean, Pete. Picking up on Chris's question, I've got two bits of question, and it's fair to give them both at the same time. When did you finish the scheme? That is, how long back did it go live? Because you were suggesting 6 bridge strikes a year, roughly. So of all the things you could measure to show improvement, there's a decent chance that you'd be able to measure reduction in bridge strikes. Have you got any data on that one? It would be morbid to ask about the cyclists and the KSIs, so I don't want to ask about that. I
think because it's not our asset, I think the railway company will have obviously evidence of bridge strikes and should note it down really, how many there's a year, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to ask that. And
so that's a not yet, basically, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's, you asked when did it go live? It's kind of the different phases of it have gone live at different times. Unfortunately, the overheight vehicle bit is the last bit, and probably has only been active for a couple of months or so. As far as I'm aware, there's been no bridge strikes during that period, but I think statistically that's not relevant yet.
That's not, as you say, statistically probably not valid yet.
Yeah.
Thanks both. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much indeed. And I think we're running out of time for questions. Yeah, I'm going to have to stop it there.
Come and see us. Come and see us on the stand, Lyndon. We can.
Go on to the stand. Yes, right. I've got several as well, so I'll be queuing up. Well, thanks very much. Can we thank them in the usual way?